Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the latest show from Marvel on Disney+. Before we start, I have to admit that the Captain America movies, in my opinion, were some of the better movies in the MCU. Needless to say, I was excited for this show. So, is it any good? Well, it doesn't quite hit the mark, in my opinion. Now, the show isn't bad, it has some really great moments, but it could have been so much better. At its core, this show explores Sam coming into his own as Captain America. However, the storyline revolves around Sam and Bucky trying to prevent a group of juiced-out terrorists from murdering people so that things go back to the way things were before Tony's snap in Endgame. Immediately, we see the separate lives of Sam and Bucky leading up to their team-up. Like with WandaVision, we're getting more time with characters that were often overshadowed by more interesting ones. Bucky has been around since the beginning of the MCU. He's played some major roles in the films that he's appeared in. Sam, on the other hand, despite being around for 7 years, has never really been the focus of anything. Even though these characters have been around for a while, they always sort of felt like one-note characters. Bucky's been a brainwashed, enhanced assassin for decades, and Sam was the sidekick of Cap. The characterization of Sam and Bucky is one of the best things about this show. Small things like Bucky wearing gloves for circulation as an old man might do, even though he looks like he's 35, or finding out that Sam grew up in the country working on his family's charter boat before joining the army, flush out our heroes in realistic ways. Bucky is no longer sullen and stoic. He feels like he's got way more personality, and seeing Sam's family life makes him more down-to-earth and relatable. We're now going to look at the inner conflicts of these two, who are going through some heavy shit. Sam doesn't feel he's worthy of the mantle left to him by Cap himself, but this show gives him the opportunity to take it on. And Bucky is suffering from nightmares as anyone would, being held hostage as an assassin for an evil Nazi organization, and is struggling to find purpose even though he's been pardoned for his war crimes and is no longer being brainwashed. Because Sam doesn't take up the mantle in the beginning, the government bestows it upon John Walker. Now, I'll admit, he was pretty lame at first, but as the show progressed, he got more intriguing, to the point where I began to want him to be our main villain. But instead, our main threat is the Flag Smashers, a revolutionary group who have began juicing with the super soldier serum so that they can kill innocent people to spread their message of one world, one people. Since during Thanos' snap, the world I guess was better since it was a world without borders. Now, I think using Thanos' snap to develop new villains is fine, but the Flag Smashers just didn't work for me. Personally, they came across as walking cliches. John Walker could have been a way more interesting threat to Sam and Bucky, both of which have a personal connection to Cap. So having someone who's unfit to wield Sam and Bucky's friend's shield and tarnishing his name in the process could have been way more enthralling. A story that really challenged Sam and Bucky's morals during a tense and difficult time for them. I think Walker's fall from grace was great, and having Sam, who is not a super soldier, fight a super soldier would have really highlighted Sam's strength and power. That great final shot of episode 4 where John stands there with blood on the shield after publicly murdering one of the Flag Smashers because his partner got murdered paralleled when Cap did this to Tony. Difference is, Cap chose to incapacitate Tony instead of killing him, because Cap would never kill someone unless he had to. During this episode, John poses the question, if you had the chance to be a super soldier, would you do it? John's partner says that the serum just makes someone more of who they are, so when John starts juicing with the serum, he lets rage for vengeance consume him. Clearly not a Steve Rogers type. Steve Rogers didn't go mad with power like John did, even after finding out that his childhood friend was abducted, brainwashed, in order to assassinate dozens of innocent people for decades. If Walker was the main antagonist, it would have given a chance to explore the kind of person who was worthy of carrying the shield, superpowered or not, which is what this show should have been about. It's 6 episodes. Give me a somewhat small-scale story of Falcon becoming Captain America after fighting for the fate of the universe in Endgame. Walker not being our main threat is a wasted opportunity. So let's talk about the Flag Smashers. Carly Morgenthau is not a good villain. Her goal isn't exactly noble because her ideology contradicts the ideology of Endgame, bringing everyone back. You know, the right thing to do. On top of this, she kills innocent people to achieve her goal. The problem is, the show wants us to sympathize with her desperately. But if you want your villain to be sympathetic, they need to have redeeming qualities, which she unfortunately does not possess. We don't see Carly ever do anything good. She just consistently says that she's fighting for a cause bigger than her and will do anything to revolutionize the world. The show tries to squeeze in something redeeming when they gave her that line where she says, I don't want to kill anyone who doesn't matter. But when you're willingly killing innocent people to get what you want, your goal becomes less about the greater good and more about violence. At some point, I have to call a merciless murderer a terrorist. So honestly, I don't really care why the Flag Smashers are doing what they're doing, as Sam suggests in his hero monologue in the last episode. Carly's life isn't more important than the one she's ruining, and the show seems to care more about Carly than the lives that she's ruined. That doesn't work for me, because that's not Captain America. Cap's main priority is saving every life he can. Let's think about a sympathetic villain done right, Bucky. In Winter Soldier, he's as evil as they come, but you sympathize with him because you find out that he's actually a victim. He had no control over his evil actions. Plus, in the first Cap movie, we saw Bucky as a heroic individual alongside Steve Rogers. Now, Sam tries to reason with Carly, which is fine because Carly does have a reason for what she's doing, but he focuses too much on the fact that she died for a cause instead of focusing on the lives she's ruined. I didn't like that at all. That's not Captain America. It would be one thing if they accidentally killed people or they were framed for killing people and had to try and clear their name, but instead they just end up being cliches. I'm aware that I'm holding the MCU to high expectations, especially with crafting good villains, but the reason I'm doing that is because they've shown me that they can make goofy superheroes cool and create emotionally compelling stories to the point where the entire world is buying tickets. And I understand that it's not easy to consistently come up with new ideas, but WandaVision is proof that the MCU can get really creative. I expected this show to do the same even if it wasn't as out of left field as WandaVision was. The show also brings back some people. We got Zemo, Sharon Carter, and some Wakandans. Zemo is broken out of prison by Bucky and Sam so that he can help find the Flag Smashers. He's only in a few episodes, supplies some comedic relief, but eventually turns on Sam and Bucky, unsurprisingly, and ends up back in prison. Then we got Sharon Carter, and for the most part, her inclusion essentially reminds us of Steve Rogers. She really has no reason to be here until the very last episode where it's revealed that Sharon Carter is actually evil and she's worked with the Flag Smashers, and because she's been given access to classified data and technology, she's going to be a big problem for our heroes in the future, especially being the niece of Peggy Carter, Steve Rogers' moral compass. Next is the Wakandans, specifically Io. Io is looking for Zemo since all of Wakanda would most likely want to wage war against Zemo for his actions in Civil War, killing their king, but we learned that Io helped Bucky shake the brainwashing. Now that scene of him crying was so powerful. I wish it made up more of this miniseries. I loved how the Wakandans gifted Sam some vibranium armor, since Sam isn't a super soldier like Steve Rogers, so having vibranium armor allows the odds to be evened when Sam is facing off against superpowered enemies. A part of the show I really enjoyed was the final battle. The CGI was very good, the dialogue was good, and there were certain moments that really stood out to me. When Sam gets his new Cap-themed outfit and is finally wielding the shield, the first thing he does is save a bunch of hostages and say, "I'm Captain America," and it made me smile. We all knew it was coming, but it's still exciting to see. I love when Bucky saved a bunch of people and a man thanks him. Now this might seem like a small moment, but it's actually a big moment for Bucky's character because he's being recognized for something good that he's done, instead of all the bad stuff, which he's used to. I love how John Walker tried to save people that Carly tried to murder. Even though Sam saves them ultimately, it was nice to see that John Walker was never really evil like Carly. He was just a bit too selfish and proud to be Cap. And I love how Bucky finally tells one of his last childhood friends about killing his son as the Winter Soldier. It strikes the right chords emotionally, and I thought the show forgot about it or wasn't going to give any closure to it because it was in the first episode, I believe, and then we didn't get the closure till that last episode. Unfortunately, it was very brief. I would have liked some more time with it. As I mentioned before, the scene of Bucky crying after finally shaking the brainwashing in Wakanda. Those are powerful scenes, and I wish the show spent a little bit more time on them. All in all, the show was good. It just had some things that didn't work for me. It's not my favorite MCU property, let's just say that. However, the performances from everyone were pretty good. There were some really nice shots, and I enjoyed seeing Falcon earn the mantle and Bucky get some closure in his life and become closer with a well-needed friend. I'll also mention that despite the title, the show was mainly about Sam coming into his own as Captain America. Bucky got some solid characterization, but not nearly as much as Sam. I think a few more scenes of Bucky coming clean to other people who lost loved ones because of him, or trying to right more wrongs like Sam tells him, would have been sufficient. I would have liked more of a balance between the two titular characters. I'd check this show out if you're an MCU stan like myself, but if you're not actively following the MCU, you could probably skip this one. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'd be more than appreciative if you did. Have a great day, and I will see you all next week. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.